think this idle animation is getting pretty close. I really pushed to get this kind of over the hump this week because I am itching to start a new shot. I worked up 4 revisions this week. It might be a little hard to tell here what's going on, but I do have incremental improvements on each pass. So this is the first version, and this is what I turned into class. The biggest problem that's going on here is my offsets are kind of all over the place. And what we discussed is what we talked about is when you think about something, or when you think about someone breathing, you're mostly thinking about the ups and the downs, right? You're mainly thinking about the up and down motion of the body. And then after that, you're talking about all the overlappy bits, the chest kind of rolling and the shoulders and then the head, the neck, the arms, and so on and so forth. But I have a lot of front to back and side to side going on here and not so much up and down. So I said that things were kind of out of order or the offsets were all over the place. And we talked about what might be a good order of offset for this particular character with this particular idol. And really, you kind of feel like everything is being driven by the chest. Everything's really being driven by the hips. It always is. But in this case, the chest is what you're thinking about the most. So if we call that number 1, then the next thing that's going to happen offset of the chest are going to be the shoulders and probably the neck. So the chest moves first, the shoulders follow, the neck follows, and then probably the wrists are third. And then, like we said, everything's always driven by the hips. So we talked about this being like 0.5. It's just slightly offset from the chest. So I move on here to version 2. And here I've cut back the forward and back motion and the side to side motion. I've cut it back way down. But what's still not working quite yet is the axe is kind of maybe too offset from where it should be. And the head and the neck still aren't rolling right. So here comes version 3. And now everything's getting pretty close, except that the chest and the hips feel kind of locked to each other. They are offset a little bit, but it's really hard to tell. So that kind of needs to work a little bit better. And on top of that, everything right now is a little bit too amped up. The timing is right, the offsets feel right, but everything's just kind of overblown. So we need to start thinking about scaling that back. And so we arrive at version 4, and it's very similar to version 3, except things are scaled way down, probably about 30% in most cases, depending on which section of the body we're talking about. Also tweak the axe a little bit. And this is what I plan on turning in for this week. And in case you're wondering why the beginning intro card of this video series still has the terrible animation, I'm waiting until this shot is sort of done or approved, I guess, for lack of a better word, before I tack that on. Now, I haven't forgotten about this attack shot, and really I probably put at least as much time into this as I did into the idol this past week. It just, for some reason, I feel like I don't get as far on this long sequence, and maybe I do and I just don't see it. I'm not quite sure. But anywho, probably my biggest issue here, what I turned in last week, was the first part of the attack, and I'll pause it here, is I had it start feeling like it was heavy as he was trying to lift it off the ground, but then I just had it zinging back. So I've tried to improve that and make it feel a little heavier all the way throughout. The problem that creates, the way that I had it, is, it starts off feeling super heavy, and then suddenly that just goes away, and it's like super light. So the rest of this whole sequence, even though it feels pretty good in terms of the weight, that first attack is bringing the believability of everything else down. So now I think it's starting to work better. I hope to also get this to a polished stage quickly as well. And that's it. That's week 3. Thanks for watching.